What's up, everyone? I am Chobo Peon here with GameSpot.com. Day 2, MLG Anaheim just wrapping up. Quite a day for Starcraft II. Started off with the losers bracket and the end of the winners bracket, going into the championship bracket. It started off a little quiet, especially for Starcraft II. I know a lot of fans online were wondering why it was so quiet for Starcraft II and so loud for LOL. Obviously, by the end of the day, that turned around quite a bit. We'll get to that in a second. Like we said, the winners bracket and the losers bracket wrapped up. We got to talk to Thorzane, who came out of the winners bracket and got to play in the pools, and here's what he said about coming out of the winners bracket.
Well, I don't prepare anything special mentally, just like considering how the game's going to go. What I prepare mentally is just I want him to win and not getting nervous, not like thinking if he's gonna drop me everywhere or something like that.
So after this, you have a lot of Koreans coming up. You have Clyde, and then you're going into the championship bracket if you win that. How are you feeling about your chances against the Koreans, and what do you think your biggest challenge is moving forward?
I think my biggest challenge is going to be a Korean in TVT, because my TVT, although I won, is my worst matchup at the moment. So I feel very comfortable in TVP and TVC, so I hope to play a lot of Zergs and Protoss.
Great. So you started off your weekend really, really well there, but EG's been having a bit of a tough time in WCS and in MLG overall. What's the atmosphere on the team like right now?
I think they are very disappointed because they were practicing a lot in the EG house and they were doing actually quite well. All of them, like LC Gamer, Machine, Jeff, Greg, everyone was doing well. So not doing very well here, I think it's very disappointing for them.
The championship pools also were very fascinating. Obviously, the winners were Puma, DRG, Stefano, and Marine King. Puma and DRG faced off. DRG winning that convincingly, in my opinion. Moving on to face Marine King, who won 2-1 over Stefano. And if DRG over Puma 2-1, if that wasn't as close as 2-1 says, Marine King Stefano 2-1 was even closer than it looked. And Rod got to talk to Marine King after his victory, and this is what he said.
I'm Rod Breza, and I'm here with Marine King after taking out Stefano 2-1 in such a close series, setting up Marine King versus Dongre Gu once again in the upper bracket finals. Marine King, let's start off in game number 2. There was one crucial engagement where you made just a slight mistake, and then Stefano killed your entire army, taking that game. How are you feeling going into game 3 after what happened?
After the first game, I felt very confident, and I tried to beat him in the same manner. I tried to just flush him out and be aggressive. But then after this game, I started having doubts, and I started thinking maybe this player is better than me. So I entered the third match a little apprehensively, and I tried to play more cautiously.
나보다 더 잘하는 선수구나라고 생각하고 최선을 다했던 것 같아요. 3경기에서.
Yeah, in that third game, you went for a quick Marine pressure, but then he was able to counter with roaches and lings for the next few minutes, and he had you up against the ropes, but you were able to withstand that and take him out. How are you able to compose yourself and make sure that you're able to win that game?
I went into the game thinking, you know what, I won the first game. So it's a 50-50 split, and because I beat him in the first game, I can beat him in the third game. So I went in with that kind of confidence.
그래서 스테파노 선수를 제가 최근에 이미 한 번 이겨봤기 때문에 그 경험을 살려서 하면 이길 수 있을 거라고 생각했어요.
Now you're going to be going up against Dongre Gu for what seems like the 5th or 6th time. You had won every match previously, and then at the Spring Arena, he finally got his revenge, winning his first ever MLG event. Now you're facing up against him again. How do you feel going up against DRG?
일단
So I played him 5 times. 4 times I've won. So understanding that, I want to just beat him and never meet him again. I'm kind of sick of playing him, so I want to just finish this off with a clean finish, win the tournament, and never ever face him again.
이제는 진짜 그만 만나고 싶어요. 이번에 제가 이기고 이제 레구 선수를 그만 만나고 싶어요.
Do you feel like this is becoming a big rivalry, you versus Dongregu?
사실
So I wouldn't know about calling each other rivals because the definition of a rival, the definition of rivals are people that meet each other consistently that are kind of at the same skill level. Personally, I consider Dongregu as a better player than me. So I don't know. It still makes me feel weird calling him a rival, but yes, it is true. We do come up against each other a lot.
Everyone is obviously looking forward to the next round in the DRG MKP rivalry. The MKP Stefano match really got the crowd hyped up after what was frankly a questionable run of matches by MLG that the crowd was a little bit quiet. They started to get hyped up with Stefano MKP, and then when the KeSPA boys came out, Flash, Jaedong, Stork, Bisu, and the rest, that was when the crowd started to really get raucous. The entire arena was looking at Starcraft II. Slasher got a chance to talk to Flash, Jaedong, Stork, and Bisu and got their thoughts on StarCraft II, on Heart of the Swarm, and on what they think and expect before going into the Invitational. This is what they said.
The first thing that strikes me is the passion of the fans, and the feeling is different because I've never really experienced this before. This kind of cheering and just kind of maybe the soul of the fans. It's a little different in Korea where they're more reserved, and it feels a little weird, but in a good way. And I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Now I've been asking this question to all the Brood War players, but you're used to playing in front of huge stadiums, and you played in front of beaches and an airline hangar in front of what seemed like tens of thousands of fans. How does this event compare to those fans?
I feel like there isn't much difference, but the fans of different countries just show it in a different way. So maybe in Korea, you might hold a match in the beach. You might have it in an airline hangar. But the American fans show their appreciation in a different way. I don't think the appreciation is different. But like, for example, the cheering, the screaming particularly. And when you come out of a win in an American tournament, it feels very good because of the cheering, because of all the support behind me.
되게 소리도 많이 질러주시고 되게 이겼을 때 그런 열광적인 그런 환호성이 되게 큰 것 같아요. 그런 부분이 좀 많이 다르다고 생각이 들어요.
Does all that cheering affect the way that you play, or maybe the way that you celebrate afterwards? I mean, Firebat Hero is kind of infamous in Korea for doing these kind of crazy celebrations after wins, but you could say here, the hype when you win far exceeds what happens there. Do you think that will change the way you kind of act?
I do think when I hear the screams of the fans, I'm kind of absorbing their energy, like kind of integrating their strength into my own. So I definitely do feel like it has an effect on my playing, on my morale. And in regards to ceremonies, I feel like I've been a little short-handed on ceremonies, and I do feel bad about that. But ceremonies are always kind of like a spontaneous thing, and I feel like that ability for a good ceremony is within me. I just need an appropriate situation and kind of the spontaneity to bring it out in the right moment.
충전이 되는 느낌이고, 그렇게 하면 되게 힘이 많이 나는 것 같아요.
Well, there's no better moment than tonight. So you're going to be playing in the 8-man exhibition tournament with the other 7 KeSPA players. How are you feeling going into the tournament?
I don't feel like I'm that good at StarCraft II yet. But it is comforting to know that this tournament will be just among my peers, as in my KeSPA peers. And of course, I want to get first place. But the thing that really makes me secure is just the level of support from just the sheer amount of people here. It makes me feel secure about it. Yeah.
How long do you think it will take you to get to the level of StarCraft II that you are in StarCraft I?
I think it's difficult to put a definite time in it because I'm playing StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 at the same time. So I'm not able to fully dedicate myself to StarCraft 2. So if I do have to give an answer, I feel like it will be a long time, even though I can't give an estimate. But based on my current practice schedule, again, because I have to play both StarCraft 1 and 2, I feel like it's a disadvantage, so it would take longer than normal.
정확하게 뭐 얼마나 걸린다고는 말씀을 드리기가 좀 어려운 것 같고, 조금은 그래도 길게 잡고 해야 될 것 같아요.
So a few months ago, when Nada was here for MLG Raleigh, and I was talking to him about the Brood War players switching over to Starcraft II and the different races that everyone plays, he told me that Zerg, the Zerg players from Brood War, would have the biggest opportunity to move over to Starcraft II and to show the world how good they can be. And he named you specifically as one of the players that would be top 3 in the world when they move over to Starcraft II. How have you felt as a Zerg player from switching from Brood War to Starcraft II? And do you think the skill ceiling is as high as he thought it would be in the switch?
먼저 일단 나다 선수한테
First of all,
고마운
I really want to thank
말씀드리고요.
Nada for that compliment. I feel like I'm undeserving, and almost like tears are streaming down my face. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Nada.
그리고
And about the statement he
자신은
made
사실
for being top 3, I don't think that's
자신이
true.
있어요,
I actually
저는.
think I'm going to be number
세계에서
1.
뭐 탑3 안에
And moving forward about
나다
Starcraft
선수가
2, as you know, in regards to
하셨는데
skill ceiling,
저는
I do feel it is an
number
easier
1이 될
game.
거고요.
So, and that was the
충분히 전 그렇게
prevalent
될 거라고
opinion amongst a lot of
생각을
Brood War
하고
pros.
있고.
And going into it, actually playing it,
그리고
I do
뭐
feel like
스타
now
2가
there's a
좋냐,
shorter amount of
스타 1이
time
좋냐, 뭐 그런
to
말씀을
master the game
하셨는데
compared to Starcraft 1, just mechanically. So I do
1을
feel like
이렇게
it is a reachable goal,
한
and I will be
사람은
number 1.
스타 2를 적응하는데
I don't think there's a
다른
difficulty
사람들보다
difference
좀 더
in terms of
짧은
transitioning.
기간이
I think it is the same.
적응이
When I
된다고
play Zerg,
느꼈어요.
I feel it's a very
해보니까
difficult
알겠더라고요.
race.
그래서
There's a lot
그래서
of
이제
hard things to master.
조만간 이제
What I do
스타
feel,
2로
however,
완벽하게
is that the jump of power
하게 되면은
from the state of the Zerg in StarCraft 1 to the
정말,
state of Zerg in
네,
StarCraft 2
스타2가
is
더
significant.
쉽기 때문에
There are a lot more things
그래서
mechanically that Zerg are
빠르게
able to do in
적응을
StarCraft
더
2. So
할수 있지
overall,
않을까 생각이
it's more
들어요.
accurate to say that it's a
제가 느꼈을
stronger
때는
race
사실
compared to
뭐
StarCraft 1.
저그가
Whereas
다른 종족보다
Terran and Protoss
더
in StarCraft 1
쉽다고
compared to
이렇게
StarCraft 2, they would be maybe
느끼진
about the
않아요.
same amount of effectiveness
똑같다고
as
저는 생각이
the
들고요.
between both games. But the Zerg in
저그는
StarCraft
사실
2 are
대신,
just simply
그러니까
better
대신
than the Zerg in StarCraft
저그는
1. So maybe that was why he made that
그만큼
statement.
적응을 하는 데는 사실 어려운 종족이라고 생각이 들어요. 1에 비해서 2에서 이제 더 많은 테크닉을 요구를 한다고 생각이 들거든요. 하지만 그런 것들을 모두 다 이제 소화를 한다면은 다른 종족들보다 스타 1에서보다 저그가 좀 더 이제 강해졌다고 저는 생각이 들어서 뭐 그럼 이 정도면 답변이 될 거예요.
You got to play Heart of the Swarm a little bit here in Anaheim. What are your thoughts on the game?
아직은 완벽히
So playing the game, I realize it's a beta, so nothing is set in stone. So keeping that in mind and going into it, regardless, the units that I got to play and experience, I felt really expanded the strategic options that I have. So that I recognize, but I still understand that since this is very early on, many things could change. Nothing is set in stone.
활용도가 굉장히 이렇게 폭이 넓어졌다고 생각이 들기 때문에 기대가 많이 돼요.
So what is your initial reaction to MLG this weekend?
일단 제가 거의 2년 만에
It's been 2 years since I've been in America. My feeling is different every time I come, but the thing I'm always struck by is the passion, always the passion of the fans, and it fills me with a lot of joy. And I do travel abroad often, but when I travel abroad, America is always my favorite place to go abroad.
온 만큼 좀 기쁨이 있는 것 같아요.
So going into this event, there's a lot of speculation this would be the biggest ever event in North American history in terms of how many fans would be here for an esports event. You've been playing Brood War in Korea for a very long time in front of huge stadiums and a lot of people. How does the American fans compare to the Korean fans?
I do feel that foreign fans are more open-minded, and their passion is ridiculous. Like I've never seen anything that comes close to the amount of cheering that they do, to the amount of support. But Korean fans also are passionate in their own way, and I think there's no difference in the love I receive from my fans, and even from Korean fans, the type of the love and the admiration they give me, it's almost like it makes me feel embarrassed. Yeah.
환경 차이가 좀 있다 보니까 그런 것 같아요.
All those fans are going to be cheering you on later tonight when you play in the exhibition tournament with you and the other 7 KeSPA players. How are you feeling going into the tournament? Do you think you're going to be able to win? And will those fans cheering you on make you play better?
I feel a little strange when I come here, and the fans are so passionate. It still feels a little surreal, but I do definitely think I will draw a lot of strength from that, just like any other player would draw strength from that. About considering winning or losing, I'm not sure whether I'll win or lose. All I have in my heart right now is I just want to put on a very good show for my fans. That's my primary imperative right now. Of course, winning is important, but that's not what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for a good game.
하나하나가 선수들한테는 저한테도 너무 큰 힘이 되기 때문에 너무 감사하고 그런 것 같아요.
So you just switched over to Starcraft II pretty recently with the OSL switching over and Pro League. What do you think about Starcraft II as a game in general?
일단
I do think
1하고 2의 차이점이
StarCraft II is easier. Maybe not easier. Maybe a better way to put it would be it handles better. It's easier to execute things. There are certain difficulties associated with StarCraft 1, as there are with StarCraft 2. I mean, obviously, StarCraft 2 is far better graphics. It just looks more pleasing. So I think there are merits to both.
2는 나름대로 1하고는 또 틀린 어려운 점이 또 있어요.
Now, you said in interviews that you think it'll take you about 2 years to get to the level that you were at in Brood War. Why do you think it will take that long for you to get to that same level? And how do you compare yourself to the current Korean StarCraft 2 players that have been playing since release of the game?
I think when I said 2 years, it might have been a little misinterpreted. So I meant 2 years to really show my full ability, but I do think within a year I could close the gap. In terms of difference, I do think there certainly is a great skill difference with me and the current StarCraft 2 pros, but I do believe I will be able to achieve it in a year, and in 2 years I will be able to be among the best.
So Heart of the Swarm is being shown off here at MLG Anaheim. I know you've gotten a little bit of chance to play, so I want to know what are your initial thoughts on the game? And also, because this game is coming out at relatively the same time that you're switching over to StarCraft 2, do you think that will help the Brood War players compete with the other StarCraft 2 players because you're all going to be having to play a decently new game?
There are a couple new units, but the fundamental game remains the same. But it is true, the StarCraft 1 players and the StarCraft 2 players have to learn a new game. I do think this is advantageous. Not as advantageous as maybe most people would think, but it does definitely make it easier to close the gap in a shorter amount of time because everyone's going to be starting with a blank slate.
지금은 이제 더 수월하게 10 정도는 아니게 한 8, 7 정도로 이제 쫓아갈 수 있도록 속도가 그래도 전에보다는 많이 줄어든 것 같아요. 차이가.
The winner of the Invitational, Flash 2-0, sort of fitting despite the fact that Solkey and others were looked at as sort of favorites just based on their results. Flash, obviously God, the ultimate weapon coming in. The quality of the games, maybe not so high. There was a lot of mistakes made. Flash won not so much because of brilliant play, more because he made less devastating mistakes. Still a beautiful win, and everyone was super supportive, and you can't wait to see him come back. Flash saying that maybe in a year or 2 years he's going to be competing at the top, and that's about the timeline I would say. I've heard maybe 6 months, which seems optimistic to see these guys competing at the very top. Let's say 12 months, and you'll see them really get into the game and really competing for championships, and I can't wait to see that. MLG Anaheim, Day 2 wrapping up. I'll see you guys for Championship Sunday. I'm Chobo Peon. Check out GameSpot.com for all the interviews and all the content coming up. See you guys later.